Hi there, my name is Chris Wharton, and welcome to Dungeon Crawl's comprehensive guide on all things Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Today we'll be focusing on exactly what D&D is and how to play it. We'll go through the basics and explain everything step by step. Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game wherein you choose a race, elf, gnome, dwarf, human, etc., and also you choose a class, such as rogue, barbarian, fighter, paladin, sorcerer. You get the gist. And then you go on sweet adventures. Collect loot, save or doom the world, or die horribly at the hands of a long-dead god. All these things are possible with some dice, some rules, and a whole lot of imagination. Each race and class has their own strengths and weaknesses. A wizard, for example, can cast powerful spells that can blast their enemies to bits, but they cannot wield a weapon or wear any armor, thus making them very vulnerable to attacks. A barbarian, on the other hand, is meant to take damage, to run into the fray and take axe blows and fireball spells and everything to protect the wizard because they're hardy and beefy and ugh. And they also like to chop things with axes and big ass weapons usually. Pretty sweet. How powerful your PC is determined by your ability scores. These are a series of 6 numbers determining how good you are at a thing. The 6 ability scores are Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Charisma, and Wisdom. I did them kind of out of order, but that's fine. A rogue must have high dexterity because a high dexterity determines stealth and their ability to react to things quickly. Paladin must have a high strength to be able to wield heavy weapons and wear heavy armor. And a wizard must have a high intelligence to be able to use his intellect to cast his spells. Most PCs start out at level 1, but if you are a more experienced player or your dungeon master wants to start you at a higher level, sometimes they'll start you at 3 or even 6. It all depends on the dungeon master. But where do you go from here? How do you start your epic quest? The leader, the narrator, the storyteller, the villain, the god, your ally is all played by the dungeon master. They are the person who will guide your story and your adventures. They build the world around you, introduce you to non-player characters, and narrate your exploits. Some dungeon masters will drop you in a homebrewed world full of cities and countries, political intrigue, and huge events. A world that you can explore freely as though it actually exists. Others might drop you in front of a labyrinth of caves full of enemy monsters and loot. You fight your way in and discover treasure and magic items. There are many styles of DMing, and a good dungeon master will talk to his players to see what kind of game everyone wants to play. Most new players ask, what should I do? And most DMs that I know ask, well, what do you want to do? This is what separates D&D role-playing from your typical video game RPGs like Skyrim and Fallout Boy. That's not what I meant to say. Why did I add the boy on? While you do have some freedom in these games, you are still limited to your cutscenes and to your 3 lines of dialogue. You can wax eloquent, trying to convince the tavern keeper that you deserve a free ale because of how ruggedly handsome you are. You can converse with your fellow PCs and talk about the rumors that you've heard about the spooky castle up on the hill. Now, of course, intense role-playing isn't required of you. If you don't feel very comfortable improvising or you don't really have anything to say, you don't have to. I don't force my players to do anything that they don't want to. I think a dungeon master is mostly there to react to his players and allow them the opportunity to have that sort of freedom. In tabletop RPGs, you are limited only by your imagination and the roles that require you to succeed at things. Segue achieved! Typically, the dice that you will be using the most is the D20, which is a 20-sided die that I refer to as the do something die. If you want to do something that requires any modicum of skill, you're going to have to roll this D20. The Dungeon Master will tell you exactly what skill you'll need to roll to achieve whatever you're trying to do. If you want to leap across a large gap, you would use the athletics skill. If you're trying to convince an orc warlord that in fact gnomes are not very tasty and are actually quite poisonous to orcs, well then you need to roll a deception check. The rest of the dice are as follows. A D12, the D10, percentiles, which we'll get into on a different video, D8, D6, and a D4. The rest of these dice will mainly be used for healing or dealing damage. This last thing I wanted to say doesn't really fit anywhere, so we're gonna call it a Chris tip. Chris's tips. He'll give you the tip of his... Take notes! I'm really bad at doing this, and sometimes I'll forget what an NPC said that was really important, or forget the name of a place, or just take notes. It's very helpful to everybody. Anyway, yeah. So, outro! Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit us up on Twitter at DungeonCrawl22. Don't forget to share this video with anyone you know who wants to start Dungeons & Dragons but has no idea how it works. Next week we'll be talking about character creation and go specifically through the character sheet to tell everyone what the hell all that weird shit means, and it's gonna be great. Ba-do-do. Okay, you can unmute now, Snicket.